Developing in Pennsylvania, where authorities have been updating their search for an escaped killer. Take a good look at your screen. Authorities say Danelo Cavalcante weather was spotted with a new look Saturday, a cleanly shaven face. Police say that the 34-year-old managed to slip through a tightly guarded perimeter over the weekend and stole a van. Authorities say he wound up on a doorbell camera more than 20 miles away, where he apparently tried to make contact with two old work colleagues. He was convicted of murder last month. He escaped Chester County Prison 12 days ago and was seen on surveillance crab walking between two walls and then scaling a fence with razor wire. As of Sunday morning, authorities did not believe he had left the state of Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, the search has now shifted to the area where the stolen van was abandoned in a township. It was behind a barn after apparently running out of gas. Pennsylvania State Police are holding a press conference. Let's pick it up right where we left off.
Challenge. But again, we're working through all of that, trying to pull together pieces of information so that we can narrow a search area and ultimately use those tools to be able to capture him.
How did he slip out of the previous search report?
As I said yesterday, I don't have a definitive answer on that. I have my theories of how that happened. I have those theories because I'm aware of the weaknesses that were in there. I explained yesterday that no perimeter is 100% secure. It's not a wall. It doesn't have a ceiling. It doesn't have, all of the things that you might normally use if you're trying to contain someone. We use the human element. We use technology and so forth to be able to try and secure the perimeter as best we can. I am aware of some of the weaknesses. Longwood Gardens presented some very unique challenges, and I believe he exploited one of those weaknesses.
Do you believe any mistakes were made that allowed him to get out of that perimeter?
I don't know that I would characterize it as a mistake. As I said, again, without knowing specifically what happened, what I would tell you is that I had concerns. I knew that there were weaknesses in that perimeter. It was a very strong perimeter as far as perimeters go, but there are always weaknesses, and that place posed some very unique challenges. Perhaps when this is all over, I can talk about some of those, but it was a very difficult place to try and secure.
This is more of a challenge, Lieutenant Colonel. You've got a far bigger area and no perimeter, and you really haven't gotten them locked in anymore.
Well, sir, we conduct, as I indicated, we conduct fugitive investigations every day of the year across this Commonwealth, as do our partners that are standing here with me. Each one of them poses a challenge. Search like this, I am confident that using all of those resources, we will ultimately bring this one to a successful conclusion as well.
Sir, it is September 11th. Any thoughts of the men and women that are on the ground with you, federal, state, and county law enforcement and local law enforcement working together this day over the last 12 days searching for this convicted killer who's on the run? Certainly
today is a day of remembrance, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims of 9/11. But what I would tell you is that the men and women that are working here on this investigation are not pausing or taking a break. They are actively working and doing their jobs because that's what people expect them to do.
Question for Rob Clark, as far as how the marshals are now investigating. You mentioned before this was like a game of tactical game, cat and mouse. What changes now for your guys that are out there looking for?
That's a good question. So in the beginning, we were prepping here for the short game. We had a tactical response prepared in a certain area, and while that response was being prepared, we had a group of investigators from the U.S. Marshal Service here, some of the brightest minds in the agency, having a contingency plan of what we were going to do should he break perimeter or if he was outside that perimeter. So we had proactively planned for this, and I would say, we have our pre-operational planning set, our tactical resources, our technical resources were all brought here, and now we're planning for the long game. The search in the woods was to Cavalcante's advantage. He was in an 8 square mile area with very difficult terrain. That was very difficult to get to, and there were some weaknesses in the perimeter. I think the incident command here was great, setting up the perimeter, bringing in the resources, and doing the absolute best we could. We had, I think, over 200 law enforcement officers in or around that perimeter, but now we're going to prepare for the long game. And the long game is what we do best. The U.S. Marshal Service, like the Colonel said, does fugitive investigations every day. This is a manhunt. And all that means to us is that it's a longer fugitive investigation with more resources. So we are prepared.
Cavalcante playing your game now?
I'm sorry?
Is Cavalcante playing your game now?
Cavalcante is now, I think the advantage is switched to law enforcement. Before it was advantage Cavalcante while he was playing that tactical hide and seek in the woods. Now I believe it's advantage law enforcement because he's in an urban setting. And that's what our investigators do best, the U.S. Marshal Service investigators, and we're force multiplied here by these other federal, state, and local agencies. So I believe the advantage has switched to law enforcement.
The fact you call this the low. What is it that you do in this long game, in this urban setting? What changes? You go door to door? How do you look?
Well, there's a lot of different investigative techniques. I don't want to specify exactly what they are, but we're going to do the same thing we do every day in the city of Philadelphia. We're going to go out. We're going to talk to people. We're going to utilize the assets of the U.S. Marshal Service, certain investigative techniques that I don't want to reveal, but we're going to try to stay one step ahead.
The fact that you call this in the perimeter, is that based on resources or was that geographical?
I'm sorry, the first part of your question?
You mentioned, you said that there were some weaknesses in the perimeter.
Right.
Was that based on resources or was that more
Well, maybe I misspoke, not weaknesses. There were a lot of challenges inside the perimeter. I believe the Lieutenant Colonel said yesterday, and he was very accurate because I've been in the inside of that perimeter. I was there with our investigators. There's a massive tunnel system. There's a lot of ravines. It's very, very thick vegetation there. It was a very, very difficult environment to maintain.
Sir, you could call this the long game. Some people might think that means you don't expect to catch him soon. Is that the case?
No, I mean, we expect to catch him as soon as possible, but we're not going to put all our ducks in a row and say, hey, we're going to have him by this Thursday. We're going to plan for a long investigation because we don't want to get caught planning for an immediate arrest and then we're not prepared later down the line.
Sir, given that he's very close to potentially French Creek Park, another vast area, are you also concentrating more solely on nature where he was successfully able to hide in the southern Chester County area versus, where 202 and other routes, there's cameras everywhere and that would be a way easier to find him in lieu of a cell phone or a debit card? Do you think he's in the woods right now still? Is that his advantage?
Like the Colonel said, we're investigating that area in East Nantmeal. Until something suggests he's not in that area, we're going to continue to investigate there. I'd reiterate the message from the Colonel to the public. Please be vigilant in the areas that we're searching. Make sure your doors are locked. Make sure your car keys are secured in your residence. Report anything suspicious to law enforcement. And if you have tips, call them in because we'd like to investigate 100 bad tips rather than miss that one good tip that's not called in.
Lieutenant Colonel, you're talking about has he tried to procure another vehicle since dumping the van?
Not that we're aware of.
You talk about a protracted search. Another one that comes to mind would be Freeing nearly 10 years ago, went on for 20 some days. What are some of the similarities and differences between these two searches?
That's a question probably better for the Colonel.
Well, what I would tell you is every search has its challenges. Some of the similarities, large search area, very difficult to know exactly where he was. And I would tell you that almost 9 years ago to the day, some of you all were standing with me in that area up there. And some of these same questions were being posed. What makes us think?
All right, let's hold it right there because I want to bring back in criminal defense attorneys Jack Rice, Josh Schiffer. We've all been talking when we've been watching this. First of all, a reminder to our viewers, we had it up on our side panel. He's a bad guy. He was convicted of first-degree murder for killing his ex-girlfriend in front of her 2 children by stabbing 38 times. Not a good guy. Now, Jack, let me start with you because you said, listen, you set up a perimeter and you go from there. What was your next, what you thought he must have done and what that means?
When I see this, the first thing you do is you set up a perimeter and you close the loops and you pull it tight and you make sure nobody gets out of the box of sorts and then you squeeze. And in this particular case, he moved really, really quickly before they could actually close it up, before they could squeeze, which means he must have had help from the outside. If he had help from the outside, it's going to come from one of multiple sources. One of those is if he actually called them directly from inside of a prison cell. That's easy. You can check every single phone call. The next one you're going to do is see everybody else who would have called on his behalf. But I think as importantly is anybody and everybody he had contact with from the inside who's since been released. And so you track those people, and that's going to take time, and that's what they're dealing with right now. But they're telling you this is secret.
Because that's where I think it is,
Yeah,
Josh.
two bits of pushback. So first of all, as much as I think it's likely that someone had either dropped a care package or assisted him immediately upon release, I'm not going to say that's necessary, because there are really experienced, orienteering, outdoorsy people that can do a lot of stuff outside really quickly. And while it's not common, that could happen. More, what I'm interested in is the squeeze that this poor colonel's under right now, because they reacted, and they're very proud of their reaction. But their reaction wasn't quite good enough, and close doesn't count when you're talking about catching an escaped murderer wandering around rural Pennsylvania. They had a perimeter. He got through it.
Yeah,
and
he
it was
got
for
through
those first 24 hours, too. In a case like this, the real question is, what did they do immediately rather than 4 hours later, 10 hours later, 20 hours later?
Okay, here's my pushback. Yes, that's important, because you have to make sure this doesn't happen again. And he had said that no perimeter is 100% secure. Well, I would argue there are lots of jails that you have to have a perimeter that's 100% secure, because you don't want the murderers out. So let's start there. But here's my thing. I felt like they're so defensive and defending what they did, and I'm more focused on, okay, how are you going to prevent it from happening again, number one, and number two, how are you going to catch this guy? Because the two children are with a sister. I'd be terrified if I were the sister of the ex-girlfriend, knowing he's out. Terrified, Jack.
Yeah, well, when I think about this, it's about transparency, as you said. And I think that's a big part of this. I think naturally sometimes people are trying to sort of backpedal very, very quickly. I would argue you go the other direction. We talk about this in trials all the time. When there are weaknesses in cases, what do we say? We all say lean in. Lean into them. And in cases like this, what they should be doing is saying, look, here are the things that we think are weak. Here are the things that failed us. Here's what we're going to do to address those things, and you move forward. It's about letting people know where you are.
Because it is what it is. You can't change what happened, but you need to catch it.
And the remedial action will be great. And hopefully they do some more training and development. You can't stop unpredictable. That's the point of it, being unpredictable. You can do lots of training, you can prepare, you can try to close it down. But trust me, people incarcerated are the most creative individuals in the world.
Exactly.
They got time. And it is unbelievable.
And they're desperate. They want out, and they're going to do everything they can to find a way out.
You think about crab walking up. It doesn't surprise me.
He made it look so easy. Can I just segue and say, I know he's not the first guy to have done it, but it's fascinating to me watching that video, if we can show it one more time. He makes it look so easy.
Don't you think Shawshank Redemption,
Well,
where all of a sudden he practiced,
do.
he practiced this, so he was strong and ready.
Yeah, and watch, and it's like up he goes. Look at this. And you see somebody standing guard. I mean, talk about having friends, right? You got to have the watchman, you got to have the friends.
There's your first investigation,
guy, absolutely.
Right here.
But also, what do you think he promised to him if he helped him? Like, is he going to do a jailbreak? I don't know. What else are they going to do?
The jail are multifaceted.
It's like any society. People think sometimes, oh, put him in jail. Listen, it is a whole city inside those jails. You two both know that, with every kind of personality and dynamic that you have in a real city.
And they've got everybody on the outside. People always worry about what's going to happen to me on the inside. That's not really the worry. It's the people on the outside who aren't surrounded by guards and walls and protective custody.
They're
the ones.
Yep, all right.